the method of summated ratings or Likert scales. So Likert scale is one of the most frequently used response style in attitude measurement. It is usually a 5-point scale that links options strongly agree and strongly disagree. This Likert scale was used to allow individuals to express how they disagree or agree with a particular statement. It is a rating scale kung saan ginagamit natin ito sa mga questionnaire para ma-measure natin yung mga opinions, perceptions, behaviors, and attitude ng mga tao. So, ang common representation ng Likert scale was consist of 5 agree or disagree points, which are strongly agree as 5, agree as 4, undecided or uncertain as 3, disagree as 2, and strongly disagree as 1. So, the numerical weights of strongly agree is 5, which is pinakamataas. The responses, both in the descriptive and numeric form, range from one extreme to another, such as strongly agree to strongly disagree, wherein 5 is the numerical value of the extreme positive feeling and 1 is the extreme negative. So, this kind of scaling give deeper insight into what the students are thinking and feeling. For example, kung gusto nating itanong to what extent do you agree or disagree with the views about online learning? Let's say online learning is effective. So the respondents will choose only one option. If he or she strongly agree with the statement, he will say 5, and if agree only, he will say 4. So, this Likert scale is easy to use yet can provide detailed data about people's opinion and attitudes.
Okay, next, semantic differential technique. Semantic differential technique is another useful technique for assessing affective learning outcomes. Dahil through this technique, respondent can express opinions about the matter in a more accurately and entirely, because of the polar options provided. Because when we say semantic differential technique, it is a technique that asks people to rate, wherein it uses a pair of adjectives to provide connections with feelings, beliefs, and opinion that can be measured by degrees of agreement that show both opposite direction and intensity. Likes, likely and unlikely, happy and sad, satisfied and unsatisfied, and many more. This technique also is not a test procedure but a general method of obtaining ratings of concept on series of bipolar adjective. Meaning, semantic differential scale is not a test procedure, but it is a technique or a design that used to measure the attitudes, feelings, and opinion of a respondent to a something na kung saan there is both opposite endpoints of the two. And in semantic differential technique, there are steps to be followed in developing a semantic differential scale. First, we have to identify the concept to be rated, because being able to identify the respondent attitude, satisfactions, and feeling towards with your job is a more powerful information. That's why in doing semantic differential technique, it is best for us to select first or identify first group of concept that we think we need to know if this concept gives benefit to us or if this satisfy the needs of our respondent or what. Okay, number 2, choose appropriate bipolar scale. In doing a semantic differential technique, we need to consider those options we are providing. We need to choose appropriate bipolar scale for the respondent to easily understand and rate what it needs to be rated. Because there were some can't understand the meaning of some words. Thus, the difficulty of word should be considered. Example of pair adjectives that we can use is good to bad, high to low, honest to dishonest, happy to sad, likely and unlikely, and many more. For the third step, we need to design a response sheet. In using semantic differential scale also, it needs to design a response sheet for the respondent to be more inspired and motivated to rate what it needs to be rated. And in semantic differential scale, only one concept should appear on each page and the scale listed beneath, in which polarity of the scale should be alternated wherein you may use 5 to 7 point scale. Nonetheless, 10 to 15 adjective pairs would be sufficient for a group of about 10 related concepts. And for the last step, we have write instructions. It is important to have instructions para nang sa ganoon maintindihan ng respondent kung ano yung kailangan nilang gawin. Para mas maintindihan natin kung ano ang semantic differential technique at kung ano ang itsura nito, let's take a look on this example that I have provided. And makikita natin sa mga example na ito ay isang halimbawa ng assessment na ginagamitan ng semantic differential technique. Dahil gumamit sila ng mga pair of objectives to rate their stuff.
Free response and opinioneer methods. So when we say opinioneer, this is the use frequently in the polling method of gathering opinion and gathering data. The use of a well-constructed opinioneer can systematize the data gathering process and help ensure that relevant questions are asked and all important aspects of a problem surveyed. When we say opinioneer, this is actually used in researches of the descriptive type, which demands survey of opinions of the concerned individuals. Public opinion research is an example of opinion survey. And free response. Free response is a type of questions used in tests in education, workplace, and government. Most free response questions asked require the test taker to state a belief, opinion, or write a short essay and back it up with facts, examples, or other evidence. However, few tests solely rely on these types of problems and tend to work in conjunction with other types, such as multiple choice. According to Gavel 1996, here are the following criteria to be considered in preparing an opinioneer. First, brevity. So in preparing an opinioneer, it's such important that it should be brevity your questions to be short and easy to understand, and use plain English where possible easy to understand. So this will allow the respondent to complete the questionnaire quickly. They should understand what is being asked on the first reading. For example, question is, how would you rate the quality of the educational supervision you received during the whole time you were on this course? So this question is long and uses words that are not necessary for the question to be understood or being answered. In this case, the question should be shortened as example. How would you rate the educational supervision during this course? So in short, brevity, keep your questions short. Cut out any unnecessary words to be easy to understand. Inclusion of items of interest and face appeal to attract the attention of the respondent and cause him to become involved in the task. Which is, yes, it is important to unify those items of interest, like simply ask a question like, what is his or her gender, sex or sexuality? So you must allow your participants to answer in whatever way they choose. And of course, pag tayo ay nagsasurvey, kinakailangang akitin natin ang ating mga magiging respondents to make them cooperate. So, kinakailangang naka-smile tayo and make eye to eye kung kinakailangan. Makiusap ng maayos, nang sa ganun ay makuha natin yung attention nila at nang makipag-cooperate na magsagot sa ating questionnaire or survey. Provision for depth of response in order to avoid superficial replies. So in this case, you need to select a content for questioning. Choose the best material which you considered important, so your respondents will study and learn based on the questions you ask. Do not mislead them by emphasizing less important material. Ask questions that require an extended response or at least a content answer. Avoid questions that can be answered yes or no, unless you are going to follow with the more questions to explore reasoning. Wording of questions neither too suggestive nor too unestimating. A good questions must be simple, to the point, and unbiased. The incorrect choice of words is what makes a question poorly worded. Praising of questions in such a way to allay suspicion about hidden purpose and not to embarrass or threaten the respondent. So it is important to praising of questions so they are not too narrow in scope, allowing the respondent reasonable latitude in his or her responses.
There are two types of opinionaires, the closed or precategorized type and the open or free response type. A precategorized type is very closely related to the forced response technique, in that it requires a respondent to choose between or among categorized responses. On the other hand, the open or free response type gives absolute freedom for any type of response. There are general cautions to be considered when preparing an opinionaire. Number 1. Spell out in advance the objectives, purposes, and specifications for the instrument. Number 2. Try to limit the length of the questionnaire to 10 questions. Number 3. Make sure students understand the purpose of the questionnaire and are convinced of the importance of responding completely and candidly. Number 4. If possible, use a sequence of questions. Number 5. Make sure that students are motivated to answer questions thoughtfully. Number 6. Control the administration of the opinionaire so as to prevent students from talking with one another about the questions before answering them.
Free response and opinionaire methods urge students to express their own thoughts, not the response they think the teacher wants. So dahil nga free response and opinionated ito, mas ma-express ng students yung kanyang opinions and thoughts without thinking what the teacher wants to hear. Yung students, mas magiging malaya siya to show and to express what comes to his or her head. The next one is be sure that directions are clear, definite, and complete. Number 9, urge students to ask about questions that are not clear to them. Pwedeng mag-ask yung students, especially if hindi niya naiintindihan yung questions, and in that way, mas maliliwanagan yung students and mas makakapagbigay siya ng sagot, and of course, yung data na makukuha or opinion will be more reliable to the question that being asked. And then last one is, if possible, pilot test the opinionaire with other teachers or a group of students to identify and clear up ambiguous questions, difficult terms, or unclear meanings. So that is all about free response and opinionaire methods.
A content analysis of the students' responses to an opinionaire has to be undertaken after the said instrument has been administered. Content analysis is a systematic, objective, and quantitative examination of pre-response material. Using this content analysis, we will determine and analyze the presence and meaning of a certain words, and also the theme and concept that the student use. To complete the content analysis of a complete or accomplished opinionaire, here are the following steps have to be undertaken. First, identify the units for the purpose of recording results. Second, Identify the categories into which the units will be placed. Third, analyze all the content relevant to the problem. Fourth, seek to attain a higher degree of objectivity. Fifth, quantify the results if at all possible. And lastly, include a sufficiently large number of samples to ensure reasonable reliability.